Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We have 4 commissioners present. Commissioner Vincegara is not present, but we have a quorum, so we can proceed. We have quite a few folks participating by phone or by Zoom, and we have quite a few folks
in the room.
in the room. Just for the sake of scheduling and expediency, can you folks that are in the room tell us what you're here for? So we
Sure. Let me introduce everybody. This is Mike LaFard, who's the
Okay.
owner of property at 91 Sheffield Street.
Yep.
This is Tim DiBartolomeo, the new president of DACO.
Yep.
This is Bill Bain, who's the senior project manager for.
So all
Your
4 of
keys.
you folks are here for 91 Sheffield.
Sir.
And we know Marjorie is here for 91 Sheffield. And I assume Mr. Ott is here for 91 Sheffield. They're both muted. Can we unmute them?
Yeah,
Yes,
yes, this is Mike Ott. Yes, I am here for 91 Sheffield.
Okay.
Marjorie Jansky, 91 Sheffield.
Okay, great. So our practice is usually to take people from the public first. I know why Mr. Clow is here. He's going to be relatively quick. Going to take Mr. Clow first. Then we have urgent business to attend to that's probably going to take about 15 or 20 minutes. The Harbor Commission, we have to get through it tonight, so I'm going to take that next. Then we're going to take you folks, then we're going to take the balance of our agenda. Okay? That work for everybody? Trying to balance everyone's needs here. Okay, great. David Clow, because there's 2 Davids on the line. You want to explain why you're here?
Yes. So this is David Kalal. Thank you for allowing me to attend the meeting. The reason why I'm here is because let me apologize in advance. I have a 1.5-year-old daughter with me, so you can have a little bit of background noise and potentially entertainment. The reason why I'm here is because I did not renew my mooring. I'm 100% accountable for the reason being, Jennifer Donahue, the town clerk, was nice enough to send several emails to my Hotmail account that I do not regularly check, and also left a voicemail. And I've put myself in this unfortunate position. My request is for the commission to please consider the tenure of the boat that I own, Bianca. She's been in the Cove since the early 80s, and I love being in there, and I would love to be able to renew my mooring. So I'm formally requesting for the Harbor Commission to provide a one-time exception for my delay.
I can probably.
Go ahead, Rob.
The point was that we were quiet. No, so I could probably give a little bit of background here. So I've known David for years. And at the last commission meeting, we had the list of people that had dropped from the mooring field. I saw Kalau as one of the people that had given up their mooring. I was kind of surprised. I know he hasn't been able to use the boat a lot because he has the young kid. But I was so surprised to see him drop. So afterward, I had texted him. I was like, hey, why'd you drop your mooring? Which prompted him to realize that he had missed all the reminders that Jennifer had sent, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that's a bit of the background, how David got noticed that he missed all the things to retain. And I don't know what's happened since, but I would imagine.
He and I spoke, and I told him to throw himself on the mercy of you guys.
Cool. She talked to me about it, and I said, bring it up at the meeting. I'm just
Rob, you didn't mention the fact that we're friends. You just said that we've known each other for almost all of our lives.
when he said Rob, I thought you were talking about me, and I was like, I'm not so sure. But we've never had a request like this before. Seems to be an unfortunate error on his part. This is a unique year because we have, I can't remember the numbers, 9 folks that took 10 folks that took the sabbatical. Okay, so we have physical space. It's kind of a good year to make this exception. So that's all I'm gonna say. I don't know how you feel. Paul?
Yeah, if we hadn't already laid out the mooring field, there's space. Yeah.
David?
Yes, I'm listening.
No,
David
other
Cole.
David Cole, I'm sorry.
No,
Uh,
I'm okay with it.
Do you think we need a motion? Let's have a motion while we're doing it, right? I'm gonna make a motion that we allow David Clow to restore his mooring in the cove. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
sweet.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great.
You're all set, David?
So David, I'll have to go in the database and do a little to open it up again for you, and I'll send you a note when I do that so that then you can go in and renew your mooring, okay?
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Commission, and Jennifer, yeah, I'll just look forward to coordinating with you directly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is that all?
That's it.
All right, thank you very much. I'm
No problem, David. See you
grateful.
later.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, now we're gonna skip to item 8A and 8B, like I said at the beginning of the meeting. First one is the review of the floating dock RFPs. And one thing we just have to note is Daco, who's in the room right now, submitted one of the 3 RFPs that we received. Excuse me, the responses to the RFP that we received. Either way, this is an open meeting, so we're just going to talk openly about our process for deciding who gets the contract. I asked Rob Soden to go through and do an analysis of the responses and him to present that to us because he has more expertise than all of us put together in dredging.
Sure, and I can dive into it. Have in the packet kind of has the breakdown.
You're looking for this. David, do you have it too? This thing that Rob emailed around to everybody?
Unfortunately, no, I don't have it.
Okay.
Email from Rob.
Yeah, if you want to find it now, David, you should have it in your email. Pretty sure I copied everyone.
I didn't see it. I looked today.
Okay.
I have been having difficulties with my email and the computer, so unfortunately, I don't have it.
Okay, well, I'll read it. I'm going to go through it out loud. So I think it should make sense.
That's fine.
At a later time. I can share it with you. So yeah, we received 3 bids. Honestly, on face value, when they first came in, it seemed like we had 2 pretty close in value and cost to each other. Just both of which just below 40,000. We had one just over 50,000, and digging a bit deeper into the bids, as tends to be the case when you ask for an RFP, it's not apples to apples, right? So I tried to boil it down to get it to more of an apples to apples comparison. Kind of the standard stuff for this work was included in all the bids. Going through the site hydrographic survey and calculations, volume calculations, everyone included that. Interestingly, only one firm included a site survey. I'm not sure if wetland delineation was included in that site survey, and that was Daco who included that. The other 2 firms did not include that. The preparation of a sampling and analysis plan was provided. The cost for that was provided by all 3 firms. The actual physical sediment sampling was provided by all 3 firms. Let me just step back to that site survey. Typically, a new permit like this, a structures dredge and fill, would require that the applicant provide a site survey. it's something that we can certainly consider whether or not we need to provide that. I'm sure we may have historic site survey done that might be good enough to use, but for budgeting purposes, before we get into it, we should certainly consider that we should expect to do that. So again, moving forward for the all included prices for collecting the sediments. As we knew, lab analysis is really difficult for anyone to predict, right? A lot of that comes out of what the agencies request of us. Then further down the line, depending on what we find in the samples, they can be composited with fewer samples. But it's really difficult to predict this at this time. So it's not fair to ask everyone to give a price on that. DACO didn't include in their bid, they include the anticipated cost of lab work, which was a considerable portion of their overall bid. Next, only one firm, Coastline, actually included a benthic study. It is typical of new dredge work to be required to do a benthic study. I think it's something that we certainly discuss with the agencies in a pre-application meeting. It may be something that we are able to avoid, but I think again, for budgeting purposes, and I suspect we would get asked to do one, we should expect those costs to be incurred. And then finally, the pre-application meeting, I think not everyone included costs for it. I just made it a base assumption, which I'll explain later, that pre-application meeting would be about $2,000 per firm. And then last, the bulk of this work, which is the preparation of the application, the drawings, everything that goes along with it, and the submittal of that. And of course, all three firms provided that. So to compare apples to apples, what I look to do is I remove the cost from DACO of the site survey that they included, as well as the laboratory analysis, which drastically reduced their cost down to from the original 51 down to 31. For Coastline, I simply removed the benthic study as they were the only firm that included that. I still think that that's something that we're going to want for budgeting purposes, but remove that because that was another rather expensive item at I think about $13,000. And for Triton, I did not have to remove anything. They kind of had the base bid. I guess the last thing I'll say is I did add in 2,000 to Triton's bid and 2,000 to DACO's bid, just for a pre-application meeting. Coastline had included a pre-application meeting. Theirs just slightly over 2,000, but it's a rough estimate. Anyway, in doing all that, we come down to this adjusted cost for comparison. In doing so, we had Coastline as the lowest bidder at $25,965. So just about 6,000 under the next closest bidder. So that's the review of the cost. The one other thing is we had asked everyone to provide a timeline. The timelines range from one firm suggested 12 months. The others were more in the 24 to 30 month range. I think honestly, it's going to be much closer to this 24 to 30 month range. I think the 12 months is optimistic, but so much that is outside, anyone's control of the agencies. So for planning purposes, which was really the intent of that, it doesn't factor at all into the decision, but it's I think good for our own planning purposes to realize that's about the time frame we're looking at. And the other things that I think we should just, when we go and select a firm, I think we need to ask to include or decide whether or not we need a site survey with a wetland delineation. Same with the benthic study, and then we'll figure out lab costs as we get into this. But lab costs, like I said, are difficult to predict. So with that, the low bidder out of all of this, like I said, is Coastline.
Just gotta say it, we're not obligated to take the lowest bidder here because this is not following competitive bid rules.
Yep.
Engineering fees are excluded from that requirement.
Yep.
But I'm just gonna say I don't know Triton. We've worked with DACO before, we've worked with Coastline before. You have worked with Triton for years. I'm assuming that all three firms are, I don't want to use the word equally, but I don't want to get into comparisons either about professionalism of execution. So they're proven firms.
All three
Okay,
companies are.
so one doesn't have a
Completely
huge
capable.
advantage over the other one, right?
No.
Anybody else have something to say before we, as far as leaning one way or the other based on this? David?
No, right, it's fine.
Paul?
No. Thank you for doing that analysis. That clarifies.
I would think just based on the numbers, however, we're not required to, but just based on the numbers and everybody being equally qualified. And the other thing I'm gonna say is, Coastline is working for what used to be between the bridges, right? They did all the permitting for their dredging and everything else. There has to be some sort of advantage of being in that area watching things, for lack of a better term. I don't know how close they are to the execution of it.
Yeah.
But there has to be some institutional knowledge that could possibly.
Yeah, I mean, they're separate projects, but they're working right there. And they have information from.
But also the footprints overlap, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how close they are.
Yep.
Right.
So that might mean nothing, right? So just to move things along, I'm gonna make a motion that we select Coastline for our consultant to do the dredging and extra dock permitting work on Ferry Road. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Hi,
Now that brings us to the next pressure point here, schedule-wise, okay? And that's the SHIP grant. Do you have copies of that, Jennifer? SHIP grant that you sent around?
No, I have one copy. I can make copies. really
Did you
quick
take
if
the
want.
time to go through the SHIP grant application?
Nah.
I want that.
Do you want me to make copies really quick? You can start talking now.
I read through it.
Okay. The SHIP grant has to be submitted by the end of the week. Is it Friday?
Yes,
Okay.
4 o'clock, Friday.
4 o'clock Friday.
Turn into.
We need two things. I've looked at it. From my perspective, I changed some things, put some wrong things in.
I took those out.
Jennifer took them out. But Rob, I think from a technical standpoint, you gotta take a look at it.
Yep.
All right, and you have to, I don't know if any of us can challenge what you're gonna say if something's wrong from a technical standpoint. Just from your reading of this and your reading of the article.
Yep.
I'm just gonna suggest a process from here on in, is that Rob worked with Jennifer. We authorized Rob to work with Jennifer to finalize the grant application. Okay?
Yep.
That the rest of us don't have any involvement in it anymore. Okay, because I think I've taken a look at it. If you have comments on it,
I did not. I looked specifically at the harbor management plan stuff and I didn't, you seem to have captured it as best I could.
Okay.
So I have no further comment on that section.
the other thing we have to decide on or get from you, Rob, is the SHIP grant will cover 50% of the costs of doing the permanent work. Okay. You've taken the proposal cost and various points in it and taken it out for a basis of comparison. To the extent, as I'm talking here, I want to make sure it's fair. To the extent coastline has costs in it estimated of things we think we will incur, we should add that to the value of the grant that we're applying for. I don't think it's necessarily right to add in numbers from Triton if coastline doesn't carry.
Excuse me, can I interrupt you?
Yeah, you can.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna upload the estimate that came from Coastline. What you need to do is tell me the additional costs that you've talked about that weren't in there. And we'll have to break those out additionally and justify them.
But there's some, it may be coastline, I'm getting a little confused right now, that says, here's what we estimate it is, but it's not in our number. Right?
Yeah, it's lab costs.
All right, it may be only one. So that's what I mean by if it's in the proposal, we can add it to their final number.
Right.
Right, but what I'm saying is the grant will not get confused between the things because they're gonna get the one
Yep.
estimate that we've accepted.
Right.
So whatever's not included in that estimate, we need to include that in our list of expenses in the grant and
Just
have
say
some
it's
justification
estimated.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have two things that have to be done. Most of them, I think, is in Rob's wheelhouse, right?
Yeah.
One, he has to go through the wording in that grant to make sure you and I didn't say something incorrect. And two, he has to come up with a final number. I'm more than happy to take a look at it for some check. But I don't think we have the time to have another meeting for everybody to take another look
Right.
at it.
Right.
You agree with that?
Mhm. I do.
David, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I will give this a shot. I'm gonna make a motion that the Old Saybrook Harbor Commission approve the submittal of the SHIP grant to the Connecticut Port Authority. In line with, consistent with the draft that was circulated, with the exception of Rob Soden's review and Rob Soden providing budgetary numbers for inclusion in the grant. Do you think that even makes sense?
I think that's all right. I'll second.
David?
Yep.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Passes unanimously.
All right.
Well, that wasn't too hard.
Yeah. Hope we get it.
Hope we get it. Okay, I guess we're now taking 91 Sheffield. And associated with that, there's two zoning commission referrals. I read them, and I just got to say, I don't understand why there's two separate ones. I think that's all kind of zoning reasons why. But I see a number of representatives in the room and online, and I assume you're here to say something, so.
Well, Marjorie.
Marjorie, okay.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Harbor Management Commission. I'm Attorney Marjorie Shansky. I represent 91 Sheffield. I am here with, I think that's Mike Picard, principal of the LLC. I'm here with Mike Ott, professional engineer, who is the site designer, Keith Nielsen, who has been instrumental in evaluating the coastal features and future docks. We were here a few years ago at the time that the Plan Development District section 36 of the Old Saybrook zoning regulations was requested. And we came before you, as we are tonight, to discuss the consistency of the rezoning of this parcel at 91 Sheffield from Marine Industrial to Planned Development District, to discuss its consistency with the Harbor Management Plan. And at that time, I described to the commission the consistency with your plan at the policies at Chapter 2, Environmental Quality, 2.1, Balancing Environmental Conservation Goals with Goals for Use and Development of the Harbor Management Area and Shoreline, 2.2, Recognizing the Carrying Capacity of the Natural Environment, something to which Mr. Nielsen will direct his attention specifically, and that Mr. Ott may illuminate for the commission in showing you the site plan layout and the fact of the 10-acre parcel being burdened or constrained by 5 acres of tidal wetlands, the gateway buffer, and tidal setbacks. So this development, this proposed development, honors all of those setbacks and has within its planning some invasive species removal that will enhance and make environmentally more healthy this site as an edge property. Section 2.4, maintaining and improving surface water quality. Section 2.5, conservation of intertidal resources, tidal wetlands and intertidal flats. 2.7, maintaining waterfront scenic quality and water views. And 2.8, environmental restoration. We are consistent with Section 5 policies regarding waterfront development, access, and land use policies. In 5.1, encouragement of water-dependent and water-enhanced economic development. As the commission, I'm sure, is well familiar, public access is a proxy for water dependency from the DEEP's perspective. And this private development of 4 single-family homes, includes a public access component with a walkway and a viewing area down at the cove, at the edge of the property. Section 5.4, stabilization of waterfront properties. Section 5.5, preserving the beneficial quality of life in shore area neighborhoods. Section 5.6, provision of public access to the harbor management area. And because of the sensitive planning, we are also consistent with Goal 6, which encourages planning and regulating waterfront land use and development in a manner consistent with the capacity of the natural and man-made environment to support that use and development, and in coordination with planning and regulation for use of the Old Saybrook Harbor Management Area. We also have consistency with Goal 7, which is to support and maintain a diversity of water-dependent uses and facilities that individually and collectively enhance the quality of the Old Saybrook Harbor Management Area, the local and regional economy, and the overall quality of life in the town. Plan goals and objectives with which this proposal is consistent include Section 6.1, recognize that waterfront land use and development have a significant influence on the use and condition of the harbor management area, and that planning and regulation of waterfront land use should be undertaken in coordination with planning and regulation for use of the harbor management area. Section 6.2 applies special town land use policies and zoning regulations to guide the use and development of the harbor management area shoreline, recognizing the importance of the town's coastal resources and existing water-dependent land uses. Section 6.3, giving high priority and preference to the development of water-dependent uses on land adjoining the HMA. 6.4, recognizing that the harbor management area shoreline has a limited capacity to support use and development, and that this capacity is subject to change over time. Section 6.5 to carefully evaluate the potential impacts on coastal resources and public water access opportunities associated with proposals for waterfront use and development. Section 6.6, Section 6.7, Section 6.8, and Goal 7, water dependent uses and facilities, is also 7.2, 7.3, and goal number 9, public access. Objective 9.2, provide new water access areas in appropriate locations to increase opportunities for public use and enjoyment of the harbor management area. This has all been provided in this proposed development from a conservation perspective, from a public access perspective, from a judicious use of the coast in a way that it can support and that will enhance its overall vitality and health. Keith Nielsen has prepared, and you have seen site suitability analysis, which I would like him to take some time to discuss with the commission. And I don't know if in this format of Zoom that Mr. Ott is able to share his screen and to show the commission the proposed development and all of the conservation that it includes.
I think I may have to be promoted possibly as a presenter.
Before we go on, question for attorney,
I just assume
let them go. Okay,
they say what they want to say,
Okay.
and then we'll ask questions.
okay, gotcha.
I don't know, again, what the format is for sharing screen here. I do want to add that the Old Saybrook Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission has reviewed and issued a permit for the activity in connection with the sole isolated freshwater wetland that is on the site. So, and that after we were with you back in 2021 or whenever that exactly was, the zoning commit, we went to the planning commission, obviously, and and they gave a vote that was sufficient to take this back approvingly to the zoning commission, which adopted section 36. So this conversation in a slightly different format has occurred with this commission. We understand the sensitivity of the commission in what you refer to as losing marine industrial land. But the history of this parcel, the 10 or 20 years when it's lain fallow and hasn't really had a water dependent marine industrial use on it previously, which Keith will talk about in more detail. This is a reflection of where the town is. The zoning map reflects a almost exclusively residential zoning surrounding this property, both from single family and multifamily development. And this is a wholly appropriate development in terms of the land use policies of the town of Old Saybrook. And that's what we're here to discuss with you. So perhaps if Mr. Ott is able to share screen, so be it. You probably have the site plan on your desk, or Keith will be showing you something. Oh, there you are. How come I'm not eligible to be on the screen? Oh, well.
Good evening. Can the commission see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just for the record, I'm Mike Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Summer Hill Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors in Madison. I'll try to do this quickly in the interest of time and just give you a really brief overview and be glad to answer any questions you might have. So this is the plan set that we've submitted to the town zoning commission as part of the applications that are before them now. I'm just going to scroll down. Hopefully you saw my screen change to this ortho photograph image. I'm sure you're all familiar with the site, but just for some context, Sheffield Street on the bottom and North Cove to the east, and the boundary of the site is in the on my screen anyway, it looks like an orange color. and Saltus Drive to the east of the property, and the cemetery, Riverside, I think it's called cemetery, to the west. Um, the I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and again, I'll try to do this quickly. There are four buildings on the site today. There's a 700 or foot so driveway, as you probably all know, that serves the site that comes in off of Sheffield Street and heads north. There are four buildings on the site. If you can see my cursor, one, two, three. The fourth building, very close to the tidal wetland boundary, has collapsed. Um, those are essentially the current improvements on the site. This blue line with the blue triangles on it is the tidal wetland boundary. You can see the extent of the tidal wetlands if you can see my cursor moving at the northern part of the site here, and then east of this tidal creek again. So the entire frontage here along the north part of the parcel is tidal wetland. There's a very small inland wetland pocket here. Um, this first blue dash line is 50 feet offset from the tidal wetland boundary, and the second blue dash line is 100 feet. And that 100-foot line is the gateway riparian buffer zone. And as Attorney Shansky explained, we're not proposing any development within that 100-foot zone, with the exception of, and I'll scroll down, with the exception of a public access walkway, this gray um, dashed thick line, and the removal of uh, three of the buildings. Two are completely within the 100-foot zone. One is partially within the 100-foot zone. So we'll be removing those buildings and restoring the area. There's also as Attorney Shansky mentioned, there's a very extensive vegetation management and planting plan that's part of the project. But I think the important thing to say is that there's no hard construction within that 100-foot zone. So the proposal is to reconstruct the 700-foot driveway, construct four single-family detached homes, one, two, three, four, and the associated utility mains and services and septic systems and stormwater management system. So again, all those improvements would be south of this blue line that I'll trace again, which is the 100-foot zone. There's no stormwater discharge to the tidal wetlands. All the stormwater will be treated with stormwater treatment structures and infiltrated into the ground. The soils on the site are amenable to that. All the septic systems have been approved by the Connecticut River Area Health District. Um, I think I tried to do that quickly. I may have missed something, but I think that's the overall development summary, and I'd be glad to answer any questions if the commission has any.
I have one, just out of curiosity, is it shown on the map, like is there any fill associated to bring the site up, and where's like the flood zone?
There's no elevating of the site. There is um, actually there is bear with me one second. Let me see if I can zoom in properly here. Um, there is some grading um, on the north side of unit 3, this home, if you can see my cursor, and unit 4. There's some there's some grading that's been proposed. There's a relatively steep slope right here. You can see the existing contours are pretty close together. So there's some grading that's proposed here north of unit 4 and north of unit 3 the limits of the special flood hazard area zone, which I completely neglected to tell you about. So the site is actually in two special flood hazard area zones. There's a VE, a coastal high hazard area zone, 15, which is entirely within the tidal wetlands. And then as you move southerly, as you move landward, there's an AE elevation 11 zone. Unit 3 is partially in the special flood hazard area zone as well as Unit 4. This grading was set up to, in the future, should this application be approved, to go through the process, the letter of map change process, with FEMA to remove the special flood hazard area zone designation from units 3 and 4.
And that's because with grading, it's gonna elevate it up out of that.
This one in particular, yes. This one's very minor. It's only a foot or so, but this one in particular, because of this slope, actually, because of the way this drops, there's more fill here. If that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Are we looking at the civil drawings here? Is that what we're looking at?
This is the civil permit set that's been submitted to the town. Yes, sir.
So I can't read it from here, not that I need to, but I didn't see that was a public walkway on the civil set. Maybe I just missed it, but I was looking for it. I know it went to a doc, so that confused me. It is listed as, yeah, something on the landscape drawings anyway. Again, I may have missed it.
It's listed right here. If you can see my cursor moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also there's in the detail sheets, there's public access signage. There's actually a public access sign called out here, if you can see my cursor, at the cul-de-sac, and there's another one here at the entrance at the intersection with Sheffield Street.
The last submittal you guys made had a public kayak launch. Why was that changed? I'm not complaining. I'm just asking why.
Yeah, that's something a question maybe that Attorney Shansky and or Keith Nielsen might be able to answer.
This is Attorney Shansky. I can't really say for sure, but we have been through an iteration of this development that had 5 houses, and that did not make it successfully through the wetlands. So the reduction of the houses led to a reevaluation of the scale of the development, resulting in what you see before you.
So is the public access as it goes out towards the water area, do I see a structure in the water that Keith, you're gonna talk to us about?
I'll talk
Okay.
to you about it.
Okay,
They pass close.
Yep.
It's serving double purpose.
okay.
That dock is roughly in the same location it was in the original drawing.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same. It's the same dock.
Yep.
I have one more, just out of curiosity. Is there much environmental remediation needed on the property? Is that? Or is that not, are you not at that stage?
Marjorie Shansky, my understanding is that leading up to and at the time of acquisition, the environmental investigations were conducted. There is no remediation necessary. There will be invasive species control, which, and as Mr. Ott said, there's a robust native planting and landscape plan.
I don't want to keep on focusing on this kayak rack, but I guess I'm going to. All right. Frankly, I'm just going to say it. We have a kayak rack. We have a kayak facility right down the road, Sheffield Street. So I was always questioning how valuable that was anyway, but it was a different access point for sure for kayaks. But do you consider the present public access an upgrade, a downgrade, a wash on public access? How would you categorize it?
I can answer that if you want.
Sure. Anybody's open to answer.
So the existing, the previous plan, as was larger scale, it also included filling those wetlands. And so everything kind of spread out further. And we were able to, be able to logically get that kayak in there. There wasn't a public access to the bigger viewing area. Mr. Nielsen was eventually able to kind of, I think, get them to sort of approve the kayak area, but quite frankly, the DEP wasn't fond of it because of turning radiuses and things like that. So with the scaling back, well, while we thought that maybe the homeowners wouldn't want the public coming, down to, where their boats were, we felt that from the value, to answer your question, yes, we think this is a much more valuable public viewing area than we had before going to the European area.
You kayaked up in there? I mean, I've been up there, but not as much as I can remember. I mean, where that dock sits and everything. So
And there with my skiff.
Good access point, bad access point. I mean, there's going to be, I saw it on landscape plans. I didn't quite understand what was there, but what's physically going to be, what's going to be available to the public at the waterfront? I mean, I hear, are there benches? Are there, there's something there that's in an arc. I don't know what it is.
It's benches, and there's, I think on the landscape plan, it's more depth, but yes, there's, obviously being that yes, that would be east south corner. It's almost the broadest, view, if you would, back to the cove, right? So, from that standpoint, we feel it might be most panoramic. I don't know, Mr. Otter also indicated that we would, if this project's approved, we intend to participate in the track mighty remediation program that folks immediately in the kind of projects have. And then we are, providing seating areas, fenced seating areas around that area. And there's some, some plantings that our landscape architects work to make it a beautiful setting. Is that what that is?
Thank you.
It looks like, just making sure I'm seeing this right. It looks like where the dock, and Keith, maybe you'll get to this, but it's more in the cove proper. It's outside of that creek.
Yes.
Yeah.
That code, what we keep on answering, but I think once you get further north and west, the navigability of that water really becomes suspect.
Right. David, do you have any questions?
No, I'm okay.
Keith, do you want to say something before we start talking amongst ourselves here?
Okay, absolutely. Is it all right if I talk from this poster down?
Yeah, sure. The next comment.
I made these posters up because there's a lot of lines, a lot of setbacks, and, the, the area that we're focusing on is basically minimized by the encumbrances on the land from zoning commission, the gateway, and the fact that we've got almost 50% of the site is tidal wetlands. And so the purpose of this plan is really to show a little more perspective of existing conditions and existing limitations on the site. And so this light greenish area is existing tidal wetlands on the site. Okay, the tidal wetlands go beyond the site. The creek comes in here, this little inlet. The main part of South Cove is out here. And the area that we're concerned with is the development of this interior area. The 50-foot zoning offset is this yellow line. The 100-foot gateway setback is this orange line. And you can see that, and of course, we've got a 100-foot radius around this inland wetlands, which was approved to be reduced to make the site somewhat more usable. But you can see that there's a lot of lines going on here that that complicate the usage of the site. This is the entrance drive, and because of its shape, you can see that what we're left with is a small hatchet-shaped parcel. All right, and the inland wetlands setbacks and the inland wetlands feature itself being here in the northeast corner. When you go to look at the proposed development, this is the proposed development area, and we can see it's about 25% of the overall site. It's a tiny portion of the site. It minimizes the impacts to resources and is consistent with the setbacks that all of the agencies have put together. And yet it fits in fairly comfortably the four proposed individual homes and a better access road. The existing driveway favors the cemetery side of the property. So this is basically what we're left with for the development. Pretty small, and it's a pretty eye-catching exhibit to show that what is going on here. Any development would be facing the same type of restriction, and it makes the property unusable as marine industrial. And so, my opinion.
But yes, your point is well taken.
So at any rate, that is the gist of what I wanted to talk about tonight. I brought along some copies of old aerial photographs from the 40s, 50s, and 70s that show how little this site is used. I had to put arrows on them so that you can see where the site is, because there's nothing there to really attract your attention to it. So those exhibits are for your reference. So the points that I wanted to make were, first of all, we had prepared application documents for the Corps and the DEP that were submitted several years ago when we started the zoning process and had to drop back and do some reconsiderations. The DEP asked us to take back the application, which we did. So we started off with basically an abandoned site. It's interesting. I have actually 40 years of experience on this site. Well, not quite 38. My first hydrographic survey requirement, I used Ocean Surveys, who was located on this site and operating out of the one building that really represents a significant structure right here. And Mr. Simons and Mr. Bell, I asked them a couple of times on different occasions how they actually use this site for access for their oceanographic and hydrographic surveys, and they say we can't get anywhere from here. And the water really is not conducive to this. We trailer our boat everywhere. And so, that was an interesting note that I happen to remember when this, project, came up. Now the site is basically abandoned. I mentioned it's a T-shape. It's been for sale for, when I talked to, Seville Simons the last time was 1993, and it was for sale then. He was trying to, figure out a way to move off the property. And it is never sold, to any marine venture. And to my knowledge, there has never been a water dependent marine use on this property. At any rate, I mentioned the percentages of property that are marsh and so on. The site is protected, fortunately, by the old trolley berm that cuts across the cove, slightly wooded, rolling hills or hill type of features, slightly wooded. The proposal now is for 4 houses, 1 shared dock. The shared dock is here in the northeasterly corner. It consists of a fixed pier, hinge ramp, and floating dock sections. The fixed pier is over the tidal wetlands vegetation, and it's a pretty high pier. It's 6 feet clear above the ground for most of its run. And with a north-south, more or less north-south orientation, the sun can come in from the east in the morning and the west in the afternoon, diminishing the amount of shading effect. It can have either 3/4 inch deck gaps or through flow decking to enhance the overall light, relative lightness of the ground beneath the structure. I don't believe that there's going to be a significant impact on the tidal wetland vegetation as a result of this. And that's one of the biggest impacts that the whole design lays out. Need one more hand here. Okay, thanks.
If I can do it without making sweat.
Okay. The site considerations, 5 years ago, I wrote a memo to the zoning commission on what really why this should not be zoned marine industrial. It's not the right use. It's certainly not the highest and best use of the property. But you know, that's my opinion as an engineer who has worked with zoning regulations and land features, water features along the coast here in Connecticut for 40 years. There are no soil or groundwater remediation issues. The creek is almost impassable. We have water depths of only a foot in this the creek inlet, and you know, I think it's just as well that kayak facility there when we've got such a good one down here at the town property. The property and the project has been laid out in such a way that really we have access to the only accessible water in North Cove. It only gets shallower as you go north, and even then it's only 1 or at most 2 feet deep at low tide. So, but at normal mean high water, mean tide levels, and so on, it will be a good dock facility for small boats.
How large are the boats that you think are going on there?
Well, we generally figure 20 to 25 foot, small motorboats. There's no flow impedance. There's no high value resources in the area. We walked on this site twice with Richard Starsky to get a good feel for where the tidal wetlands were and where they were the most significant. And I believe that the dock design that we've got in here will be well suited for the conditions and will not adversely affect the resource. Plus, in the new plan, there is treatment of invasive species and selective tree pruning and removal, replacement, some new trees and so on that will improve the value and the productivity of the site. The dock is consistent with current DEP standards. I know that the primary reason that they asked us to take back the application was because of the zoning issue. And so we did that without hesitation and without any prejudice. I've already mentioned the environmental qualities of here to make it suitable for the land. The site, even with the pier and the other development, remains in the high 90% area, a permeable site. I know that Mr. Ott mentioned some of the drainage features. You can see them very lightly in this development plan. You see them in various areas. And what those are infiltration points. They're like septic systems for infiltration of the runoff that's going to come through the drop inlets in the pavement. And so there's a conscious effort in the design of this project to keep old water on the site and not create, any kind of erosion or discharge impacts. He also mentioned the Phragmites eradication possibilities, and with that and some of the selective plantings that they've proposed, there will be a overall ecological improvement for the site. There will be no adverse impacts on water quality, and this is, I know I can't really speak so much for the homes, but for the dock, the impacts are going to be very short term. This project can be built within a month. All the ramp and floating dock sections will be built elsewhere and brought in. And this is only 85 feet of pier, and contractor, even building most of it from land, which he will have to do, can do that in relatively short order. So there's no drainage impacts, no adverse water quality impacts. All materials that we have projected in here are state approved and historically compatible for waterfront projects. The tidal wetlands have been addressed. There's no benthic or intertidal flat resources on the site, no SAV, no shellfish, no finfish impacts that we can see. The floating dock system may provide a small amount of shelter for juvenile fish and so on, but again, it's not a significant number in terms of finfish activity in the area, but it's not a disadvantage. Minimum wildlife impacts and no hazardous material generation. The coastal hazard and flooding suitability of the project is completely consistent with policies. The only real coastal storm impact we can have is flooding, and the dock is designed for water immersion, and so it's not going to be an adverse impact, and it will not be adversely impacted by this flooding condition. And there's no water flow and circulation or drainage impacts proposed, or I should say, associated with the proposed development. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
A couple quick ones.
Sure.
First, confirm what it said. I worked briefly for OSI back in the day. I definitely can find water access at this site in any ways. A lot of effort getting boats out of there. But are there any hard shoreline features, or it's all just natural grade back down to the wetland?
Yeah, there's we're not even going to change any of the grade in here. path is a wood chip path. It's low impact, permeable, and we'll build. Have you walked this part of the site? You know where the land falls off? It's a noticeable fall off. You have a Phragmites marsh. Phragmites starts to go down the bank, and then all of a sudden it's Spartina ultraflora. And so that's where the dock starts, about 10 feet short of the ultraflora, and then spans, and it goes up at first and then spans right over. So like I said, it's an intentionally high dock.
And that was my next question. So you said 6 feet high?
Yeah.
And it's a 4 foot wide dock, or
This is
6 foot, so
yeah, for shears, right?
Well, no, the public access portion of this, Keith.
Mhm.
So I see the path and it goes out to the dock.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the line goes out to the dock. Where's the public access
Well,
go to?
Mike Ott and I have talked a little bit about this, and this was originally my intended path for the walkway, just for the pier.
Right.
All right, but you may remember that we also had a walkway that went all the way over here. Okay, it paralleled the shoreline, basically going in a westerly direction. And at first, when we thought about the kayak facility in the inlet, we had the path wrap it around. Then we thought, well, it would make more sense to go for the circle, have a little parking area there, and have people walk straight back and just continue the path. Then this would be separate, and there wouldn't be people walking out from the dock,
Right.
which is a concern.
Right.
And so those details may have to yet be worked out, but I believe the path could equally well run right down here and terminate there. Could even go further.
So where does it start? Starts at the circle?
Starts here at the circle.
Is there parking there at the circle for public access? No.
No.
So the parking is at the school or elsewhere? Okay.
there's no way to access there from the graveyard, is there?
No.
Why couldn't you?
You,
Yeah.
It's fenced, it's barbed wire.
you need a permit.
You'd have to.
Okay.
That's cemetery people.
I think that's so very private.
Yeah, they all are. They're semi-municipal.
And
They're in between.
But I was gonna ask, and I think you answered it. Well, I've never been out there, okay? I've been out there by the water. You really can't see much.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't want to trespass, I don't want to go out. So this area between all these three different levels, gateway, you got this. What does this look like? What? I mean, you've got a path going through the lines, right?
Yep.
You mentioned you could do a path over here.
Mhm.
What is this? I mean, is it?
right now,
It go away does it go away at high tide? Does it go away in the storm? What?
right now, it is largely fragged, so you really can't. Like you said, I mean, I tried to get in the other region with like kayaks. So in times that I've gone, I think it's winter time. You have a little bit here, but then once you get around here, you're just seeing taller Phragmites, it seems, than you can see ground cover. We've also tried not to do anything else. The Gateway Commission now has changed hands, and they're in a whole try to not disturb anything mode. Okay, so we had to be, everybody has sort of a different agenda, right? And that's why, to answer part of your questions, each person that we come to have different agendas.
Yeah.
So we tried to kind of keep, and then we had the wetlands who also wanted us to keep a certain distance from them. So that's why we had to try to keep the path, as unobtrusive as possible. There's really not much view, unfortunately. I mean, unless the Phragmite remediation lowers the, really, once they're down, it really improves the view. Currently, there's not much.
And it's difficult to get through the Phragmites. They're 6 and 7 feet tall and so on.
And 50, 60 feet out, in some cases.
You try and work your way through it and they bite back, and it's not pleasant.
So go back to my question. So can you just draw with your finger where the public access is coming from the circle and where it ends.
Sure.
So it starts there.
Comes in.
Yeah, comes in. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right now, it ends at the south
At
end
the
of the pier.
The start of the pier. Okay.
Right. This is where it could go easily.
And you mentioned that in the plan that there were, this is like kind of probably your question, there are benches planned for that area?
Yes,
For ahead of where the pier starts?
that's right.
Presumably a door with a combo lock or some sort of thing, so that's
Exactly.
right.
I mean, you can, I mean, in between the fragments, you can certainly see some water, but not that much.
So here's, if we look at,
I might be going too far along, but is there any plans on lighting or anything along that path of the dock?
I don't think there's any left.
No.
What we're gonna use this.
It seems like in looking at the aerial, it seems like there's a, you're saying kind of a Spartina, then it moves up to Phragmites, and then there must be some sort of like transition zone where it's kind of just heavily.
Weeds.
Yeah, just gross, like you can see
Thorns.
there's a thing.
Fortress to try and get the lot of fallen branches and trees.
What's generally everybody thinking?
well, my question, Attorney Shansky.
Keep on, keep on
Okay.
asking the questions, sir.
Attorney Shansky, there you are. When you first started, you rattled off, from our plan, our goals and points. I was with you from 2122, and then I lost you between 22 and 27. Could you elucidate the actual numbers that you referred to in your?
Certainly. In the section, in policies regarding environmental quality, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, 2.7, and 2.8.
Okay.
In the section number 5, policies regarding waterfront development, access, and land use policies, number 5.1, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, and 5, that's it, 5.6. And then in section 6, plan goals and objectives with which this development is consistent include 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, 6.7, and 6.8. And then goal number 7, water dependent uses and facilities, 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. And then goal number 9, public access, objective 9.2.
Can I just ask, how do you think 7.1 is consistent with changing the zoning from industrial to residential?
Simply by the docking that is proposed in connection with the residential development.
The private dock?
Yeah, and
Interesting.
and I suppose there's a vestigial sort of relationship to the former kayak launching, but certainly from the dock perspective.
You think a private dock put on this enhances of boat-related facilities, including, so it must be part of the, including marina boatyard, and boat launching facilities. It's
Mhm.
not a marina, not a boatyard, it's not a boat launching facility, but you're saying that including doesn't mean exclusively. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Oh, that's interesting. So, remind me, did you last time we met or any time that we met, do you remember bringing up all these goals that you say, or all these chapters of the harbor management plan that you say support this development?
Yes, I submitted a letter dated August 27th, 2021
To whom?
to the Old Saybrook Harbor Management Commission. It's a, let me see, it's a
Do you remember that?
5-page letter that has a fuller description of plan consistency. Yep, I'm happy to provide a copy of that.
Yep. I'd like to get a copy of that. Thanks.
Absolutely. I'll email it this evening.
So for background for the commissioners, but I think you probably have the letter. The last letter we generated that I remember.
Yep.
Except for letters that said something to the effect of, remember our letter of September 7th. Okay. Was our letter on September 7th, 2021. Does anybody know of any more recent letter we've written, or?
That's the latest, I think.
I think this is the latest one. This letter was written because we had an earlier letter that's referenced here from July. Attorney Shansky. She had concerns about the letter, and I just don't remember the concerns, including you missed
I beg your pardon?
Places where where this development is consistent with.
Yeah, the letter that I will forward to you was specifically in response to the letter the commission issued in July of 2021. And it describes my then going to the tape of that meeting at which that letter was generated, which was, I believe, a meeting to which we had not been invited and of which we were not aware. And this letter that I sent in August is in response to what I observed and in making the case for harbor plan consistency, harbor management plan consistency.
There would be no meeting that was not publicly notified.
It may have been publicly notified, but it was a meeting of which we were not aware. As best as I recall, but that was
That's what I recall too.
2021.
Then we had a special meeting after that.
Correct,
To make sure that you had an opportunity.
correct. That's correct.
Well, you'd be down point by point.
Pardon me?
You could go down point by point. Or we could just, we looked at this before. First of all, I guess get to frame what it is we're looking at here. So at the moment, this is still zoned marine industrial. Zoning has not changed the zoning.
Correct.
Correct.
This is just to bring everybody back into this.
To what we're responsible for. Okay.
They made an application.
Yep.
To change it. Look, I don't know the zoning terms, okay? Instead of being marine industrial, there's some mechanism to turn it into residential. In its simplest terms.
TDD, yeah.
Right? They zoning received it, they sent a referral to us like they normally do, as they're required to do.
Yep. And that's where
And we have always compared this, in our opinion, to the words of the harbor management plan. Limiting interpretations as best we can. And does it meet it or not meet it? Our last decision yeah, it was a decision, right?
Yep.
Was that it met goal 6.1, 6.3, and 7.1, which are also goals that Shansky says do not meet. I mean, that do meet it. Okay, so
Right.
we're at odds with that.
Yep.
Okay. We recognized 7.2 and 7.3. I'm just trying to figure out where we agree and disagree, right? 7.2 and 7.3, but arrived after the special meeting on the word on balance, we find it inconsistent with the harbor management.
Yep.
I think a couple of things that we didn't have before us, my recollection about Keith's opinion that this is very of limited value in marine industrial usage, water dependent usage. We did receive a copy of it, but never really, there was nothing for us to decide at the time that we got it, right? So that's something. I don't know what weight we give it, because I don't know if that's our job to figure out or support the fact that, yeah, there is a water dependent, right? That's economically viable. We could blame that too. I mean, if I read your letter correctly, you know, you're saying economically viable water dependent use, right? And classic uses like boat yards, boat storage, blah, 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 right? Do I have that right, or?
I was saying there is no economically viable.
Correct.
Water dependent use for this site.
Right.
In preparing for this, one of the things that happened to be at the same time was Jennifer's ship grant preparation. In that document, there's a paragraph that, talks about, I'll just read it very quickly. The State of Connecticut Council at Saybrook, the Coastal and Development Municipal Coastal Program, has established policies to promote and protect water-dependent usages such as marinas and boat yards. The Connecticut Coastal Management Act, for example, establishes legislative policy to give high priority and preference to uses and facilities which are dependent upon proximity of the water to the shorelands immediately adjacent. Another basic policy is to manage uses in coastal boundary through existing municipal planning, blah, blah, blah. Authorities giving highest priority and preference to water-dependent uses and facilities in shorefront areas. Then there's the notion of the other part of the town overall approach is to encourage commercial versus residential in low-lying areas. That's also part of the overall town general approach, I guess. I don't know if it's a policy. So there's those two things, which are outside of our specific jurisdiction, but just as a sort of an entree point. So I remain troubled by, in terms of our consistency with our plan, I do remain troubled with turning marine industrial property over to residential use. But I guess that's not really what we're asked. It is what we're being asked to do.
Right, yeah, that was gonna be my question, is the ask right now.
What is the ask?
that-
The
is
ask
that-
is,
You were saying?
Is the ask, I thought Paul was gonna fill in the blank for me.
Yeah,
Is the
the
ask that, yeah, we're looking to see if the transition of the zoning to a residential zoning is consistent with the harbor management plan.
That's, I think, A11A,
Right.
And that's what we did before.
and that's what we did before.
Right.
So there's nothing new.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Attorney Shansky, in one of your iterations of the regs and the consistency, there was something mention of change. In what regulation was that part of the regulations of emissions have the word change in them?
I'm sorry, I'm either not hearing or understanding the question.
Thought I heard in one of when you were outlining in your speech, you said that part of their maintenance, part of their goals is to be evaluating things that are changing. I may have misunderstood that, but I guess in a layman's term, you're and what I've come to find out in these town processes is that everybody's has sort of different agendas. So yours is obviously to preserve marine industrial, and Gateways is to almost steadily oppose that because they don't want that. So it's people in my position are really but I often, and we did some research back when this was even zoned to be that. And it seems that it was zoned marine industrial simply because there was something that was existing there that had a marine connotation to it. So all of the rest of the regulations that are consistent with your harbor commission and that don't even seem to have been contemplated at that time. From everything that I can see of the practical values, as Mr. Nielsen said in his professional opinion, this site can't foster a marine water dependent facilitations, permitting with the federal government, and all kinds of logistics, things like that. Shallow water, et cetera. So so we're protecting something that may not have been properly designated in the first place. So I don't know if your requirements or what have you guys allow you leeways to use practicality and circumstances in the decision making. And I see that you're arduously trying to fit inside the boxes here, but I would imagine some level of practicality is, I will tell you this, that I mean, from a marine standpoint, right, marinas are not plentiful, there's not abundance of them, right? There's constantly a need for that. And I know for sure that people would love to have that be part of a marina. It could happen. Again, my understanding is it's a practical feasibility for that ever to happen. So, from that standpoint in your regulations, it seems almost impossible. So how are we, how is the goal, what are we protecting it? Just we're gonna leave it zoned that way and it stays foul for another 20, 30 years, maybe? I don't, can we answer to the practicality versions of that, of the regs? I know you didn't create the regs. Your rules are just to implement them to the best of your abilities.
Can I just say one thing along those lines? The enabling legislation that came about for permitting came about in 1980 with the Coastal Management Act. But the Tidal Wetlands Act came along in 87. And where there may have been opportunities to develop this at one time as a small boat marina, I mean, considering the shallowness of the water, that hasn't changed dramatically in the last 20 years. But it could have been possibly suitable for some type of development. But between 1980 and 87, when the Tidal Wetlands regs came out, all of a sudden half of this site became unusable, and getting to the water became contrary to the dictates of the Tidal Wetlands Act. And compounded by the Gateway, which came along 10 years later. And now we've got these huge setbacks on the property. The evolution of zoning and other requirements on the site have just crippled this site at any kind of water dependent use and make it only suitable. I mean, the green in paper here, the green is what you're left with. And all of this all becomes unusable.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will argue this is a difficult piece of property to develop, right? And I think get a marine dependent, water dependent marine use on there. I mean, what was there before? There was OSI, and before that, was it the Sailmaker? Like, those are probably the two. There's very few industries that are marine related industries that could use the property.
But not water dependent.
And they're not water dependent, right? OSI, all the boats came out of there, but they're a marine, hydrographic survey company. It's still, all that doesn't change the fact that it's zoned marine industrial, right? We're looking at changing, you're looking at change it from marine industrial to residential.
But not, I should correct, and Marjorie probably should correct.
Yep.
This isn't, it's not, the end result will be the usage is residential, but this isn't going to a residential zone. It's a planned development zone. So it's like sort of something
Yeah, it's different.
that's different and gets superimposed on it.
Right.
So they're not, they're not allowing industrial change to a residential change. They're saying it might, because effectively this, when we did the history of this, to your point, the Sailmaker was there prior to even zoning coming in, right? So it's like, and they didn't know what you said. Well, none of these things. So what happens is your zone comes in, and then years and years and years and years and years go back and make it impossible. So that's kind of my understanding. So to simply say we're putting yes, the end use will be on part of this property that is even passable, right? Because like you was saying, like Marjorie said, and everything, over 5 acres of this property is in the water, so to speak. Okay, so you're not going there. It's really not 10 acres. Then because of gate title setbacks, you reduce further. And because of gateway setbacks, you reduce further. So you're really squeezing this thing towards the street. Then you're in what was mentioned, primarily not really an industrial zone. Industrial zones, even if it was non-water dependent, would require, 18-wheeler trucks and all these things. So, which would again, through another special permits, likely not happen to school zone or what have you. So, because there was maybe something that happened way back when, that might even have been a mistake, had limited information. Today, we're trying to keep it going, and it just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem.
I don't. This
Yeah.
is just like salt.
And I don't disagree with all of that. I think the challenge is, the reality is, it's still zoned a marine industrial zone. We're still trying to uphold our marine, and
We can't anticipate what future uses might look like.
And
that
it-
would benefit from a marine industrial zone in town. There's so precious little left of it.
Well, that's
So,
the reason that I brought those
Right.
those photos from 40s, 50s, and 70s.
so I would like,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Marjorie Shansky here. I want to tag on to both Mr. Nielsen and Mr. Picard are saying, and to clarify that while we have 2 applications to go to your first observation of the evening. There are 2 applications because in the plan development district process, one first lands the zone on the parcel and then goes through detailed site plan review. So that's why there are 2 applications. They both wind up with the one coherent development. The adoption by the zoning commission in 2021 or 2022 of the plan development district by its terms contemplates, and I would suggest invites the application to land the planned development district on a marine industrial zone. That is specifically what the zoning regulation uh, uh, contains, and that was approved and endorsed by the Planning Commission and then adopted by the Zoning Commission. So it is a planned development district, not a residential zoning. And that was part of a very sort of complicated, almost negotiation with the town of Old Saybrook to make sure that if there were development, that it was of an appropriate scale, a very low density residential development in which one cannot undervalue the functions and values of the ecological services that are being provided by the tidal wetlands and which are undisturbed by confining the development beyond all of the regulatory setbacks to which it is subject and which Keith has illustrated so helpfully. I appreciate that you don't like to let go of the land, but if there were another place and time in the town of Old Saybrook that there was a parcel that had the appropriate configuration and adjacency to shore waters, somebody could change it back to or create marine industrial. It's not the way the world is going. I don't believe the commission is really saying that that any developer or any property owner should be constrained from a reasonable use of their property. And, is it confiscatory to say, well, it's not suitable for marine industrial use, but we like the label and we're not going to let it go? Mr. Nielsen has provided you with a depth of information about how specifically unsuitable this property is for marine industrial use. The history, the 20 years, however many years it lay fallow, when nobody was there with an offer in hand and an idea and a vision for creating a marine industrial use, that wasn't there either. This is a means of low intensity use that will serve the town of Old Saybrook. You say that there's an encouragement to have commercial uses and there's an encouragement to have water dependent uses. There's also a statewide crisis in the availability of housing at all scales. So, we can pick the state program to which this is most resonant. And we will find one because the needs of the state are diverse and many. But I think that by the evidence that we've placed before the commission, we have provided a basis on which you can find consistency. The fact that, you have maybe 40 different policies and goals in your plan. I've done an awful lot of plan analysis in, I don't know, 30 or 40 or 50 states around the state of Connecticut, plans of conservation and development, preservation plans. I'd say there's never a situation in which a plan analysis leads to a conclusion that it's all on fours with what you find. What you look for within a plan and analyzing it for consistency are places where there is a mission that is coherent. Because frankly, you look at your policies, some of them even contradict one another if you look more deeply. So we think the case is made. The commission will do what the commission does, but I think the record supports the request that's before you. Thank you.
Most of what information that you've given us is background information, is outside of our purview. Many of the points Attorney Shansky made, I went down the various points and sections, 2.1, 2.2, et cetera, et cetera. Almost all of those are relevant to our discussion and this plan.
They are
back to
part of your harbor management plan.
Irrelevant. They're not relevant. Comes back to a few key points, which I think we identified back in September of 2021, where we are looking for consistency with the harbor management plan. Right now, it's a marine industrial property. We are not allowed to anticipate what it might become. in our discussion tonight, or why it got here, to be honest. I mean, it's like, I get it. We do not have authority to say, yes, there's a housing shortage in Connecticut, and it's not the purview of this commission to do any of that. So I think we're left with looking at our harbor management plan and saying, once again, where do we see consistency or inconsistency? And we have to decide on that basis.
I'm just gonna say something more as far as fairness goes, okay?
Yep.
First of all, if you just allege virtually that you have met every requirement, virtually every requirement, you missed a couple within the harbor management plan, some of which we say support that it doesn't meet it, right?
Yep.
So I'll tell you, mechanically, I sit there and go, well, I'm gonna have to read every one of these things and make an evaluation on each one of them, right? To be fair.
Yep.
To be fair.
Yep. That's what I started to do.
Yeah, but I don't think we can sit here and do it now.
Right.
You know, I just don't, you know? I will say that can you put up the green thing again? You
Sure.
guys correct me if I'm
We
wrong, the green thing, that's very descriptive,
Give
right?
David or
But you know what I mean?
The green hatch. The hatchet.
You want it closer?
No, I'm just saying that, how many acres is that? I'm
3.
curious. 3 acres out of 10.
But also we look at the shifting.
No, I get it. I was
I think.
gonna say something helpful, okay?
I think the limit is the whole tidal wetland situation. I mean, I don't know if it prohibits. And any, it's like industrial use, like it prohibits it. I have one other question.
Sure.
When you go through the criteria of consistency with harbor management, is it part of the regulations that all of these have to be met, or many of them, or how does that work?
The provider.
This is what we did last time, is we recognized the value in public access that you provided last time. And we basically said that. We said, look, it doesn't meet, let's take, and I'm picking on Marjorie here, 7.1. Support the continued operation and enhancement of boat sport facilities.
Right.
It doesn't meet.
Right.
Okay, come on, we can all agree.
Right.
Well, maybe Marjorie won't, but we'll all agree,
Everybody
okay?
else will.
Yeah, everybody else will. You say that's a big one, right? I mean, that's kind of a big one. So
Because of the zone.
correct, because of the zone, all right? Like, it's, on its surface, it's inconsistent to say we support the continued operation and enhancement of boating-related support facilities, okay? And in the same time, say that meets the plan. That's a hard one for us, right?
Right, but we don't know from the origin if that was ever a possibility.
We can't.
But that's not a question for us.
That's a tricky part.
And that gets a little bit here.
All these things subject to interpretation.
They are. They physically are. And then what we wrote was, you know, we also recognized the 2 sections that the public access is in support of the plan. But we came into a balance. And that was the word that we had to discuss with Ms. Shansky before. She didn't like the word totality. We changed it to balance and identified that to the zoning commission. Okay. Now, that does have some effect on the zoning commission, the way I understand it all works, that, you know, that instead of being a simple majority voting on your application, it's a super majority, whatever that definition is. I'm not exactly 100% sure. But the arguments, I think, about, you know, it was before the zoning regulations were developed, it was used and all that stuff. I don't know if that's appropriate to us, but it may be appropriate. It should be appropriate to them. That's their world. All right. I mean, I'm just saying that. I don't know if you guys agree.
I agree.
Now, one thing I would like to say, in fairness and practicality, is when you look at that and you say fit a marine industrial application into that, right? That's difficult.
In
And I-
the way that we see current marine industrial operations. 'Cause
We
can't
can even
foresee-
say that.
We could say, what part of our role is to protect the resources of the town. On a forward-thinking basis, which is why the plan was written. And so we have to anticipate that there may be things we don't anticipate. But so all we can do is look at, the current.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say this and you guys react to it. Okay, and you can react to it too after that. Okay. But. Is it? I don't think it's our. I lost what it was exactly.
Sorry, I don't know.
That's quite all right. But here's where I was going with it in concept, right? I think it's fair to identify that we recognize that this is a difficult assignment. And the zoning commission can
Do what they do.
take what they want. I mean, take what they want of what they think is of value, including case analysis. But if we were further down the, the contentious nature of this, which I hope we're not, I'd sit there and go, I want to hire a Keith Nelson that's going to see if Keith Nelson's right. Right? I mean, that's only fair. Keith came in, he's got a lot of experience. We've used Keith in the past and everything else. We have nothing against Keith, but I want to go find my own Keith Nelson and see if he comes up with some wizard idea of how to use this for marine industrial. I don't know if we really want to, do that, but I kind of think that's a fair idea. I don't.
I guess the question would be, for me, is that going to somehow influence you further? So I'm trying to, and I don't mean.
Go ahead, please.
All right, so
Go ahead.
unfortunately, in my career, I spent much more time in all these places trying to understand every mission and, not become more a lawyer than I wanted. But, and I realized, you guys here in your contemplation, I'm gonna take my hat off to you in this respect. You're different than most of the people I've come to. You are really trying to follow your procedures and your purview. Now, I will tell you that most of your other contemporaries don't even know what their purviews and the procedures are in many cases. So I commend you for that. I always, where I become frustrated and I'll put aside is because, I think a lot of times these tails wag the dog. So, I make the analogy like you're dying of cancer and yet, the dermatologist is so focused on fixing is that what we're supposed to do? Oh, you got a blemish here. Yeah, but the heart's about to fall out. So, but you guys have what I'm understanding you saying is we have a mission. We're trying to keep with that mission. We don't have purview to think outside of what we're told to think and act. So maybe that's for other sources. And fair enough. And often I find that maybe when people that try to follow it as best as they can, that they, unfortunately, it's sometimes the tail does wag the dog, and that's what the regulations are. And we don't want to set a precedent, right? I often find that. But then I also say, at some point in time, I look at a city like New York City, right? We said trains running down, this was zoned, this, and all of a sudden they're not, right? I think it's because the world ever changes. Unfortunately, sometimes in a small town, to change, to remap this is referendum, it's a big thing, and it's probably just never been, it hasn't been on the chart yet. So oftentimes, from what I've seen through ARV, zoning, special permit zoning, gateway, all right, unfortunately, very few of them really consider everybody's missions collectively, which is for another argument. But I would imagine that there has to be some, and you used the word balance before, right? And so that's one of the questions I was going to ask you is, and balance unfortunately is subjective, but if I mean, we all agree that the site, from a zoning standpoint, would be difficult to administer a marine industrial use because of its configuration, because of its, its limitations from title, inland wetlands, gateway, other things. And clearly, nothing in the zoning has changed, including maybe the uses of these buildings, right? I mean, they really have, they've been there, they're falling down. So things have changed around it, and yet this is remaining. So where is it, how does the word balance, how are you guys implementing it? I guess is my question. What is your, your criteria, which you guys are saying balance? Are you saying that we've proposed only so many numbers on that sheet as opposed to others? So can I understand what the balance means?
You want to answer?
I can just give a thought on this, and this is just personally my thought. It's not really our position to find the balance. It's our position to say whether or not this is consistent or inconsistent with the harbor management plan. It's the zoning's department to then take our recommendation and figure out the balance and whether or not they want to proceed with it. So and we can qualify, right? We can say, like we did last time, that we didn't find it consistent because it's tough to find every single thing consistent because it's changing the use to something else. But at the same time, we also noted that, look, you guys have done a good job of providing additional, water access and these other values that maybe the property doesn't currently have. But I don't think this is my personal opinion, but I don't believe, we're the ones that are really empowered to find that balance. We're looking more, is it or is it not consistent?
In fairness, I want to be sure because we can be inconsistent. We use the word on balance, it's inconsistent with the harbor measure. Okay, so that was I agree.
Big picture balance you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking.
You're talking little things.
Okay, all right.
No, and I'm glad you just said that because I was just thinking about the previous and it was not in balance. And I'm saying, where's the baseline of what, how we set up the balance? But you're saying that overall, because the zone is not being, our application is not maintaining a marine industrial use, and therefore we're not completely in balance of what your definitions would outline. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think the answer is yes.
Yes.
And then I know you had your hand up, so hold on. We found, I haven't read 6.1 or 6.2, okay? But when we went through this, we let's take 7.1, right? Support continued operation and enhancement of boating facilities, all right, blah, 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 boat yards and everything else, all right? Our job is, from that one goal, it's very clear. It says we want more of them, and we want to make sure we have more of them, or at least we keep as many as we have, right? I mean, that's the clear definition of it. So we sit there and go, okay, how do we weigh that against the kayak launch facility? Because that's what we were looking at. And we go, something? That kayak launch facility is something that we also
Helps us
support.
satisfy.
But what's more important? Kayak rack launch facility or making sure that, we have some land here that could be used by someone somehow to a boating related thing. And we go, something, I think it's more important to maintain that piece of property. That's what we were saying in here for some marine industrial use against the kayak launch facility. That was a judgment on our part.
Yeah. So there is a judgment. That good. Yes.
There is a judgment.
So there is, and the reason I've asked this is because, I've sat through countless meetings everywhere, and ultimately all the people in your commissions have the ability to make judgments, whether, and often people agree or disagree with them, and I think I see you guys are really struggling to try to follow the letter of the law to the best of your abilities, and I get it, I mean, I don't, I'm not, I don't understand. I wish someone would take it upon themselves and say, this is what was happened in 1967. Is is it today on this property, you know? But you, like you've said, that's a zoning scenario issue, you know, and I think part of the reason that, you know, the PDD language was even granted is was because of that. And then, of course, zoning is concerned about the PDD language as well, because that's why it had to be tailored so much, because they don't want to see, you know, losses of other zones, if you would, right? That maybe there. But, you know, what, the one thing we could say in this case, I suspect, is through our knowledge, there's never been a water dependent use on this property. Water dependent, right? I mean, there has not been. So, I mean, from that standpoint, which is probably a pretty major part of the industrial part, I mean, that's fact, right? So it's not like we had a boatyard and we're taking it and put fleets of condos there. You know, we never really had anything that was water dependent. And I would have to say, something I heard in a meeting in Essex that was that, you know, I think it would probably make, you know, some sense in these commissions that you could certainly hire another outside expert, but someone like, you know, Mr. Nielsen, who's had 40 years with this, is not going to get up and stipulate something. It's been my opinion. People don't like to say things equivocally unless they're pretty certain of it. But he was really equivocal that a marine, you know, water dependent marine industrial use, because of all the complexities in this site, would likely never come to be.
In the lack of water.
And I think you guys can trust that. I
We
mean,
recognize the lack of water.
Yeah.
Which is probably the lowest. But that, even getting to the water, in my opinion, is the way I understand it. I don't know what you can do at each one of those little rings, okay, at the, you know, gateway, blah, 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 but that's gonna severely limit both storage, buildings.
the answer is nothing. Listen, there's no parking, there's no gateways and regulations. Should we listen to it? It's virtually
That's fair
nothing.
to say, right?
Anyone who wanted to build a marine industrial operation there would have to be in that same footprint.
That's right.
Right, that's.
There's no question
the
about it.
available limit.
That's right. That's right. Like, yeah, that's true.
But you can even see from the traffic flow, it's almost like.
You see, right?
Yeah.
That's when Rob was talking about balance. I don't want to put words in, okay? The way I would, the zoning commission is the one.
Yeah.
They send out their feelers to whoever is affected. We're one of those, right? And fairly and with some care, decide, you know, what our opinion is, guided by the harbor management. When they get that, they're the ones that apply, I'm gonna call it the town balance, right? I got a bunch of buildings, couple falling, one falling down, per your words, I don't know for sure, but I take them at word. Others about to fall down, okay? And they're the ones that go, that site, don't know if we could ever put a marine industrial in there. You know, I hear what the Harbor Management Commission is saying. I understand their mission, but, you know, they're the ones that apply the balance he was talking about.
Well, we
That's
hope.
part of our system.
I heard him say, yes.
Yeah, but, you know, one way or another.
Yeah.
Thing that bothers me here, or causes me pause, and I gotta balance it with what's our role and what isn't. But this is right across from the school. It's a few yards from our facility at Sheffield Street. There's a yacht club right there. There are other water uses immediately thereof. I think of, you know, is there a role for the school to have some opportunity to do water-related training of some sort? You know, I mean, again, I have to come back to, is that even something we should be considering? But that's what's running through my mind.
I can tell you something about practical standpoint. Insurance is, us to do that, because we, you know, our other group of attorneys, when we were contemplating this, basically were very part of the kayak situation was the homeowners and ensuring those liability.
Yeah.
So as usual, it's a complicated web.
Yep, yep. The school district's different.
I looked here and there are a whole bunch of different uses it can be. None of which you like.
Yeah.
I'm suspecting, I'm not gonna go through the uses with you, but there's a ton of uses and a ton of special uses. How practical any of them are, I don't know. You know? Some are out of your expertise, right? I mean, you know, a marine research laboratory, we'd all love for something like that.
We did,
Saybrook? Huh?
we did several.
Did you?
Yeah, I mean, truth be known, when I first contracted this property, it clearly wasn't for residential use. It was actually for something that was within the zone reg. It was suggested to me by the former town planner. But, you know, the practicalities of this property came into play and just wouldn't work. And we did, you know, we even went, because at one point, one of these guys was, you know, had grant money and we were thinking it would expand from Guilford to here, but was.
He's still raising his hand.
Please, I'm begging you now.
The,
Get it all out once though.
the one thought that I had when you were reading through the various points to be considered was the continuance and the development and preservation of water dependent uses. And the reason I brought those photographs in because there's never been one on this site. And so what I'm afraid of is we're trying to protect something that has not existed. And certainly, if there was a viable water dependent use that could have been developed through the 80s when there was a huge development push, 86, 87, 88, and in the later 90s and so on, someone would have thought of that. But the combination of shallow water, massive resources, change in regulations at the state and local level and so on, have somehow made this site not of interest to legitimate marine, industrial, water dependent people.
Yeah, I think that last piece is important, water dependent uses. We
Right.
still may be interested in people with marine industrial use.
And I went to the, you know, again, the practicalities of the setbacks. For that, that from St. Peter's. It was actually a salvage, there was several. Other sort of marines that don't have, currently don't really, they're off-site and not used to it. Because other limiting factors, you know, the factory illness, it's little, yeah, all this other kind of scenarios. The presence of the school, the lack of a sufficient turnaround, you know, for commercial vehicles.
And you come back to the marine industrial use that isn't water dependent, you know, that it would be more inexpensive place to drop that kind of a business. If it were zoned otherwise, it would be too expensive. If it's zoned marine industrial, it becomes more affordable to put that non-water dependent use marine industrial property there.
If you're, why is that?
Because the rent would be arguably lower.
Limited.
Because there's a
Based on
limited,
the-
yeah. I don't know, I think we just have to come back and say, it's zoned this at the time that we're considering it, and we have to look at our regs and just say, is it consistent or isn't it?
Yeah, I think our field review has to
It's-
be narrowed.
It has to
We
come
can't.
down to that, we can't, unfortunately.
We can't honestly speculate about what
Could
it
be,
could be.
would be.
Yeah, exactly, because there's.
The only other thing is, you know, we are stewards of the town, trying to steward the town's interests. And that's what's behind all of these things. And
That's very important.
Yeah.
Factor.
Yeah, to us it is.
To all, so hopefully, you know, whatever decisions you guys render, that
We're attempting to put that into the thinking in interpreting, trying to come up with
I think two things are. I'm not suggesting this.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna suggest a second. Okay. Assuming we're still
It's a two-water meeting.
locked into, not locked into, we feel strongly about 6-1, 6-3, and 7. Okay, which is what the letter said.
Yep.
I think it would be fair, say, that we also make this decision knowing, or I don't know what the words would be. There has been no water dependent use in this site. Because that's a fact.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I don't think we can debate that. And I just wrote, the site is difficult, right? I mean, if we're going to do a little bit better than that, but the site has limitations that have to be considered, you know, for any marine, industrial, or water.
Right.
I think that's fair.
Yep.
Based on that, based on, you know, where they're getting pushed into the green area.
Yeah.
And I think zoning takes those into consideration because I think they, assuming, you know, the 5.12 or whatever, you know, don't change our mind. Because I would like the time to go back and read every one that Shansky wrote down.
Which is almost all of them.
Right. So, look, you know, just because we live for more meetings and stuff, right?
Yeah, we do. We love it.
This is what I suggest. I suggest that we gave you a couple of dates for some special meetings. We were told we didn't need. This is exactly why we thought we did. You know, no disrespect that you're here. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. Why don't we call a meeting in the next 2? I really want to start reading through. First of all, Marjorie, I want you to send me. I'd request that you send me a list, so there's no mistake, of the ones that of the parts of the harbor management plan that you say are consistent with this development. If that's the list that's in your August letter, that's very easy, right? Just send me an email saying I'm relying on what I sent in the August letter, and we'll go read that. If it's expanded, I'd like you to send me that, and we'll read them all. We'll read them all. We'll consider them all, and we'll come up with the, you know, the reasons why we think they apply or they don't apply in our judgment. Is that fair?
It's a request.
Or is it a fair request? If you don't want to do it, that's fine. We'll just do it on our own.
I will absolutely do it. I will absolutely do it.
Right. Right. I'm hoping.
In that request, you want her to expand upon our logic and reasoning, so I would think it's consistent.
That would be helpful, but you're not obligated to do that, but that would be helpful, right? I mean, you say 5.1 applies. I read it and go, I don't see it.
Yeah,
Right.
Listen.
You know?
Come to realize they don't rule a lot of people see things different.
Right,
you know?
yeah, absolutely. So it's whatever you guys would like to do. I'm gonna read them independently.
Yeah.
I'd like the list first, and we can read them, right?
Yep.
David, are you okay with this?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I don't remember what those dates
I
were.
don't either.
You said you were available as of right now, I know.
Yeah,
I get it.
Change quickly.
I think part of this also is we had some other,
Right.
we had quite a, other dates that we're trying to.
I understand.
I appreciate
We-
That's primarily the reason that we didn't want to do, I mean, special exception, so it's.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Nobody wants to sit here for another meeting.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I get it. But in fairness now, we.
What we will do, what I would like to do is, be able to give you the information that you asked. And then, we'll communicate to say, hey, these are the dates you're meeting and we can meet that too. I mean, or are you willing to have a special time
Yes.
for us?
Special meeting.
It's a special meeting solely for you.
Yeah. Is that what you're asking?
No, that's what we're offering.
Oh, yeah, all right,
Yeah.
we'll get back to this dates for that.
Well,
We'll make that happen.
If you think your schedule is more restrained than ours, which
Maybe.
I'm just guessing it is.
Just
Okay?
right now.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
It's between now and March, what is it, 3rd?
I think so, right, March 3rd is the,
Where's
when's the zoning?
March 16th,
March 16th is when we need to get back to zoning.
You guys give us,
but they want a response by March 6th.
March 6th is the
right, I
deadline,
thought it was
or
earlier.
March 6th.
You
That's
tell us when you're available.
between now
If
and
you
then.
want to start there. I threw out a couple of dates just thinking
Yeah.
I'm
and one
advancing
I
the ball.
remember I was,
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
March 6th, Marjorie, is because why?
No, March 6th is because what zoning asked us to reply to.
Oh, so they have.
Zone is-
So we're not
Yeah.
impacting
Yeah.
your schedule in front of zone.
We'll gather together on the phone conference tomorrow, see how we can, because obviously Shansky also has a really elaborate schedule
Yep.
too.
Understood.
But we'll come back with some dates. So we will, if I understand, your offer was to resend you how we feel is consistent with some explanations. And then we will give you some dates when we can come back in front.
That'd be great.
You said you let us help you pick out.
Probably just a couple days we need between
Yeah.
when we meet and March 6th, we just got to generate a letter to send to the zone. Right?
Thank you.
All right?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, ladies, thank you very much. Thank you.
Why? To what? Why through the rest of these?
I don't know how much more we can do.
Well, I think,
I don't know, but he's on my bad list right now. He's not here.
seriously,
Well, I'm not doing cartwheels in front of here either.
you're supposed to be here. Like, even though it's gonna be hard to put in a binder because it's upside down.
I don't even know where we are.
It did, but it's right side up so you can put the binder.
I didn't look at it.
I'm glad you did because we needed.
All right. You know what what time is it?
I wish I had known that when
Yeah.
I was reading the whole thing 2 weekends ago to write that grant.
9.
We really don't
I
have
think
that
we
much.
just want to hit the high points on this and
Yeah. First
No,
thing
it
we're
is.
gonna do is
2 minutes.
approval of the regular meeting minutes of January 20th, 2026.
I make a motion to approve those minutes, January 20th.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Clerk report, Jennifer.
So we're just finishing up the kayak renewals. I think I might have a couple spots there. Flats and beaches moving along, ferry docks all set for the season, clothesline is all set for the season. North Cove is going to end up with 125 spots, not including Mr. Kalal.
That's a good number.
So,
That's a good number.
So all of the people that were offered?
no, 3 of the original 6 people took something, and then I had to offer it to 3 more, and those people
Those people
didn't
did.
take it. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
So by round 2, I got 6 takers.
Okay, good.
And I talked to 3 of them.
Yeah.
Negotiated with 3 of them.
So much work.
I'm done.
Yeah, and say, oh my God.
Bob and I,
They were fine. They were nice. They were all good, but
but thank God it wasn't funny. I don't know what we would have had to do. Anyway, yeah, so that'll be done. and, just the budget. Unless anyone has any questions.
Good shape.
We're
Where
gonna,
we are.
we're gonna keep on going. Correspondence? Is there any that we gotta talk about besides Mr. Clow probably was in there?
I didn't actually see any.
Yeah. that's-
Good, done. Zoning done. I think we're there except the LWRD license application from Eversource.
Sweet.
Wait, Bob, wait a minute. Ferry Road, the water line, what's going on there?
How do I answer this? I took the responsibility of doing the RFP. I chased Lou,
Okay.
gave me the information, and ever since then, I think I've been like working really hard on this stuff. I didn't get. But one thing I could say is this, and you're absolutely right about the water line. I'm sorry I missed that. I need to generate an RFP.
Okay,
In Bob's
I-
defense, I've been keeping him very busy.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's been pretty.
It's been active.
Yes, okay, I've been active.
Yeah.
And not just on this stuff. I'll do it. What I suggest actually is when we get dates from these guys,
Mhm.
we have a 2 issue. Special
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, we can do
That
that
we can
there.
approve the
Okay.
RFP then,
Good idea.
all right?
Good idea.
Sounds good.
David, did you want to bring up 2 issues that you sent to me and you might have copied to everybody? Bent holes and broken water something or other?
The
Well,
valve.
yeah, Scott has apparently put the manhole cover back on, and I got a text from him that he's meeting with ONG and the water company to see if the meter is frozen in the water pit. So it looks like he's handling that, which is fine. And I think you've probably seen the situation with the pilings down there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have to get somebody to reset them. And I'm assuming,
The ice is really it's taken out a bunch of the
I'll have-
pilings,
have to
or at
get
least bent them.
Get down there.
yeah,
Like,
they're
Okay.
gonna have to be pulled and probably realigned. And we probably need to get Dan or somebody down there early in the spring because those guys will need those docks, so.
David, in looking at those piles, is there like vessel traffic in there that like, could vessel traffic be pushing the ice to push the piles, or is it just the movement of the ice? Can you tell?
I think it's just the ice because there wasn't much movement, from, the only water that's open is at the end of, the docks out in the river. It's where the water sits in
So
in
frozen.
the cove or is blocked in. Those are the inner docks are the ones that have been most affected. The outer ones have not.
I wonder if we can ask the contractor that's working there in the marina, the bridge there. They'd have an interest.
I would think if they're moving the tugs around and stuff, they were breaking up the ice with their boats because they couldn't get a safety boat in the water. So I don't think it's them. I think it's just the ice. It's been a
No,
bad
we were
winter.
thinking about who might
Using them.
ask them
To move some piles.
to move them for us.
Well, I mean,
Pay for them
Yeah.
to move us, since they're right there.
I just suspect.
Oh, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, if Dan,
yeah.
like Dan.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple. There's somebody doing work over at the north yard of the old
Right.
between the bridges. They got a crane there. I mean, ONG could just do it from where they are, but I don't
I'm
know
gonna
if
say they just reach out from where they're actually
they
sitting.
can reach over and do them.
look,
Sure.
getting back to this water thing, which I think has to do with the subject we're talking about, right? I got from David's email when he sent it was ONG did us a favor by plowing the ferry road.
Right.
They
Yeah,
just
they did.
putting something on the way.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
try to delicately say, this happened and try to be careful in the future, right?
Yep.
Scott got a hold of the superintendent, now they're gonna see how much damage is there and all this other stuff. So I think we want to keep a good relationship with the O and G folks.
Yes.
But we certainly
Oh, absolutely.
fair share if we ask them to do some work. I think it's almost, well, let me take this back, okay? I don't know if that channel is gonna get more and more active, right? And if Dan comes in there and plugs it up with his machine, that might be a consideration,
Yes, that's true.
okay?
Whereas they can do it on their time based on what they're doing.
Or we don't get in their way.
We don't get it right. That's
That's what I'm
Yeah,
concerned
yeah,
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
Approach it that way.
Yeah, it would be worthwhile meeting with them and discussing it. There's no question.
Yeah.
I mean, when that snow melts, we're gonna have some extra gravel on the road, which is fine. It's just that there's some junk in there that's gonna have to be cleaned up. But I was more concerned about the water meter than what's left.
I didn't go into detail with Scott about contacting him. There was just no way I could get out there and say, Scott, can you go out there and check this out? Read his email and check it out. Next, reminded him about it today. Then I got back the O and G guy's name, that. So he did reach out to them and the water company to see damage, but we're not necessarily chasing them for the money, right? We didn't want to go that far.
Right.
Like you broke our stuff.
Right.
Right. Probably not a bad thing when you think about it.
No.
I'll reach
It'll
out
be
to
fun.
Mark Caldarello, okay?
Mhm.
Because he would handle it correctly with O and G, I think. And I can make it quite clear. We are not looking for a freebie for them to correct the poles.
Right.
All right, to correct the pilots. All right, but we are concerned that when our guy comes tromping in there, we're gonna be in your way.
Yeah.
If you say
Yeah.
we're not in your way where these bent poles are, then it's a non-issue. We'll take care of it. If we're gonna be in your way, we gotta coordinate. That's all. And I'll just.
Yeah, sure.
All right,
That's a good way to handle it.
I'll.
That's a very neighborly way to
And
handle
when I don't do it, Jennifer will tell me. One of these days, I'm gonna understand what a COP is and what a LWL, whatever it is, okay? Do I have to sign this or not?
It's a COP.
I don't know what it is. It's an LWRD.
No, that's
Then
one we don't.
probably a
It's
full application.
informational.
Is it?
Certificate of permission.
It doesn't say, if it is.
Permission,
Then that's,
do.
certificate of permission, COP. That's
Okay.
what COP stands for, certificate of permission.
All right, and those are the
So
ones
that's a
that get.
maintenance.
Those are the ones we have to
Some sort of
sign.
maintenance activity.
This has to do with them power lines that go across the river? Let me see the draft thing. That's what it
Figures
looks
to
like.
tell you the quickest what it is.
Yeah, that's what it looked. Oyster River.
Yeah, that's what was
So
screwing me up.
moving the poles. Okay, they're moving the poles from out, that's what I remember now. They're moving it from out of the wetland areas because it's so hard to maintain and
This has nothing to do with the Amtrak bridge, though, does it?
no, this is over here in the Oyster River area. So where's the,
Crossing is located east of Big Hill Road and
There's
west
Elm.
of Elm Street.
there's Elm.
Oh, this
So-
is like north of the railroad tracks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So this is
It's
by
south-
Pasta Vida, right? Up that way? This is this body of water near Pasta Vita's up here? I think so. Yeah, because this is shopping center is here. This is Elm Street. And then Pasta Vita would be up here. So this has to do with the wetlands and the poles. So Fireman's Field would
North
be
is like that.
closest.
North is like that.
Fireman's Field might be over here. So they've got poles in the mud, and their point was that
Oh, I know which line this is.
They
Yeah,
couldn't,
yeah.
they can't maintain them because they can't go and inspect them
access.
because they can't get to them.
Yeah.
So they want to move them so that they can access
Poles are
them.
proposed for removal via helicopter.
Right. That's how hard they are to get to. That'd be fun to watch. That would be
Oh, man.
Fireman's Field Entertainment.
So is there something for me to sign here?
There should not be if it's a COP.
Should we go again?
Should we go again?
I think you just said COP needed to be
Yeah,
signed.
COP, yeah, COP. It sounds important. Gotta sign it.
Certificate of permission.
Why don't you
Okay.
sign it anyway?
There's nothing to sign. Okay. So we're good. We're done.
We're good.
We have at least a, should have given it to you in the first place. We have at least some bills, right? There's a
Yeah.
bill for the yacht club in there.
Yep.
Yep, old business, we're gonna skip right over, just gonna table it.
Yep.
Payment of bills, which there are two, make a motion to pay two bills, one $278 sales tax and one for $500 to the North Cove Yacht Club for the storage of the floating docks. Looking for a second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye,
Aye.
David?
I will say
Oh,
that,
Wait a minute,
Hold
wait a
on.
minute.
Jennifer?
I'm sorry, that I don't know why Online Mooring didn't give me a bill yet for this month, but they probably will, and it will probably not be that much, and so I will probably pay it. And
And we just accept.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no problem. Okay,
Just call me what it is and I'll give you the, call me. Then we'll-
Okay.
and I can use my emergency powers.
all right, now David.
All right, I will make a motion to adjourn at 9:29 PM.
Holy smokes. Second.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, everybody.